Hey, listen, it's good to be here. I always enjoyed getting up in front of letter carriers and discussing things, talking. When Bob asked me to come, you know, I said I'd be honored to come and pass on the word as to what's going on. I hopefully everybody knows what's going on as far as this 5-day, 6-day business. But first, I'd like to say 100%. You know what that means? That means 100% you people are organized in Lawrence, and that's fantastic. You should give yourself a hand for that. That's going to become more and more important as we go along. One of the reasons you have 100% is because of the leadership of your branch and the support of the membership and the high quality of work that you do, and showing people how to do the work when they come aboard. And you know, like I say, congratulations to you. 100% is fantastic. Now I want to know if anybody's scared. When I ask you scared, what do I mean? Are you scared about your future with the Postal Service? Those who are going to retire, or are going to be retiring, or are retirees, are you scared? Well, I tell you what, you should be. We're in the fight of our life right now. All the things that we've done in the past, we've done demonstrations down in Washington, D.C. Geez, that could come again, but that was for contract negotiations. We haven't had anything like this, the importance of what is going on. I don't know how many here are thinking about going or have planned on going March 24th to Boston Common to have this demonstration. It's not about us, it's about the American public, it's about the institution. You got to be there. I mean, it's your job. I worry, you know, for not only regular carriers, career carriers now, but also retirees. There's no telling what can take place. He goes to 5-day, if he can do that, he goes to 4-day. If things get tough, he goes to 3-day. What's going to happen to health benefits? There's a lot of things can be affected for retirees as well as active carriers. So this is not something to fluff by. We've got to get out there. And the reason we're having it all across the country, one day, at particular points around the country, is to try to get as much news media as we possibly can to cover it. So that the American public, you know, I don't know if you people talk about it. I talk about, like, you know, Bob, I see him over at the New Moon over in Bradford now and again, and I talk about it over there quite a bit. And people say, well, I didn't know that. You mean they want to cut out Saturday? Well, I didn't know that. I also tell them, do you know that they want to get access to your mailbox? These people who will replace the delivery on Saturday and possibly Friday and Wednesday, down to 3 days, that they want access to your mailbox. Well, I don't want them coming up my steps. But then I tell them, well, you know what? One of the things the Postmaster General wants to do is take your mailbox off your house and put one of those gang boxes down at the end of the street and go pick up your mail. Well, I didn't know that. And this is the problem. You know, I've written a letter to the Lowell Sun. We've had presidents, business agents, letter carriers, answering these people's opinion, these writers and their opinions, editorials, talking about the problems that the Postal Service has going on, you know, losing all this money. Well, what is the crux of the problem? The crux of the problem, actually, last quarter, they would have made $100 million if it hadn't been for the prepayment of future retiree health benefits, which has already have $45 billion in it. You know where that is? It's in the Treasury.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have work to do here. Vince Sombrato, God bless him, organized this union to the maximum extent. But how he started off, or how it all started off, was the strike. If we go out on March 24th and demonstrate, have a rally to make the public aware of what's going to happen if this goes through. We're not going to lose our job. You think back in 1970, some folks here might have been around at that time. They're going to lose their job. They walked out knowing that they could be fired possibly and lose, you know, the income to support their families, and even at that time, a lot of them qualified for welfare. But what I'm saying here is that we're not putting our jobs on the line by going out March 24th. We need a huge crowd out on the Boston Common from around the state, friends, family, anybody you can drag along. It's only from 1 to 3. Can we do it? I hope the hell we can. The other part you can do is for those who are given the COLSEP, continue to do so. Maybe look to open to do a little bit more. For those who are not, once again, it's the people in Congress. Right now, we're leaning heavy on our friends, and they're coming through. There's a number of bills in the Congress right now that's going to benefit us if we can get them through. But we do have friends. The reason we have friends is because we support them during the elections. It's sorry to say, a lot of it comes down to money. It gives us access in to be able to talk to their staff, to talk to the congressmen, congresswomen, senators. So COLSEP is extremely important. It's like a broken record. I know I talked to my branch for the last 10 years about COLSEP. And I'm never happy with the amount that they give. And some of the amount that the ones that do give, how much they do give for such an important situation where it's your job, it's your future, it's supporting your family. E-activist is another. I mean, anybody who's an active letter carrier, there's really no reason why you shouldn't be on e-activist. I just got a e-activist message from Fred last night, who said urgent. Call your senators. Why? Because Colburn, out of Oklahoma, Tom Colby hates the Postal Service, and John McCain, who during the last debates or last forming of a bill that the Senate actually passed, called, well, they only get junk mail on Saturday anyway. I was listening and saw him say that. They have just put an amendment yesterday. They're going to try to put an amendment into the continuing resolution, which the House passed, and within it protects 6-day delivery. The Senate, Colburn and McCain, want to go ahead and eliminate that language from the Senate. They want to put an amendment in and eliminate that language. So, what I'm saying is, if everybody was on e-activists, Elizabeth Warren would have gotten all kinds of calls today. I don't know how many she got. She got one from me. But she's on our side. I mean, she's co-sponsored one of the bills that to keep 6-day delivery, and so she is on our side. But across the country, we need everybody to be on e-activists so that we can act immediately. That's one of, over the years, there were some bills, people said, where the heck were the union? No, they talked about it in literature, what some of these things that happened over in the past, but you couldn't get the communication out quick enough. Now, we've got e-activists, something happens, boom, an email goes out to the activists, you call the Congress people, the senators, and that's where we make sure that the votes are against or for what we need. So it's easy. E-activists, COLSEP, and the rally. We can do it. Get out there, okay? Well, one thing I forgot, the early out, I don't know, man.
I knew
But I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. With the CCA's, and the rate of pay that the arbitrator awarded, it'd be crazy for, I mean, Fred feels as though it's Postal Service eventually will be approaching him to negotiate sometime early out. But nothing has come forth at this point. As was mentioned, the CCAs, they're gonna start hiring, and it's gonna be on a fast clip when they do. I know you get, like you're saying, 4. I know Mike Gill, who's a fellow trustee with me, he's from South Florida. He has about 6,000 members, but they were hiring 1,000 in his district alone. They were already in the process of doing so, and that's going to happen around the country. Now, they have to take the test, pass the test, so they have to go through that procedure because of civil service. So it's just a matter, basically a matter of time. They are going to come aboard, and I told all my buddies that I talked to, get the old to a certain extent, and I realize some is too much, but whatever you get in overtime, try to put some of that away for the future, because sooner or later you may be getting 40 hours a week, and you won't be getting all this overtime. So think about that, keep that in mind as well. But that's secondary. When I say that, not diminishing the importance, but that's secondary to this rally, because if we go to 5-day, you're going to lose 28,000 jobs at a minimum. It's estimated up to 35 in the Postal Service. It's $1 trillion industry that surrounds the Postal Service. And if the Postal Service can, 5-day, 4-day, that starts happening, then a lot more people are going to lose their jobs in all the other industries. And so with that, I know Bob, you mentioned a couple of contractual things, grievance procedure and so forth. Do you want me to take questions? Yeah.
I just want to mention, I've had 2 customers on my route had their Red Sox tickets delivered by me, signature tracking. They used to always get them FedEx. So
That's good.
I don't know if somebody.
And that may be customer connect at work.
Could be,
there's a lot of businesses out there.
I'm sure it's a lot cheaper.
Yep.
I have a question on the information. Explain to them who was the last man standing with a COLA in all the unions in this country.
Yeah. That was a big thing we were really concerned about, in our planning for contract negotiations and so forth. And the Postal Service Act, they usually come to the table and want to eliminate COLA, cost of living. There was one thing we definitely wanted to keep was the COLA. But when you look at, there's only maybe 2% of unions in the country that actually have a COLA. Years ago, a lot of unions got tricked. What they did, I remember my buddy worked for, at that time, I think it was 9X or AT&T or whatever it was. And he was telling me, he was a steward, and he was against it, but they got like a 5% raise for 3 years, 5. And the membership, geez, they loved that. They loved it, but they dropped the COLA. And now what are they doing? They're getting smaller raises, they're not getting, the COLA. You hear some people say, well, I got a 3% raise, 4%, 12% over 5 years, whatever. But they don't have any COLA. If you add our COLA up over the years, and I know the last 2 or 3 years because of the Great Recession hasn't amounted to much, but it's going to. Inflation, the ugly head of inflation, sooner or later is going to show itself, and when it does, COLA is going to be extremely important. So that'll be down the line before this contract ends, I guarantee that. As a trustee, we meet with the bankers, actuaries and all this, and they're just waiting too. They know it's coming, but yeah, there's only like 2% of working people today that are actually covered under a cost of living allowance. It's tricky. Okay, the PTF's making, going into the career workforce, when there is an opening in an office that's not being withheld, they should all be gone by now anyway, but not being withheld, then the PTFs will be promoted. Now, that doesn't mean that every PTF in the country is going to be promoted within a year or 2. That's not what it means. It says that every PTF will be promoted by the end of the contract. And that's because you have smaller offices where you may have nobody retiring, so that there's no open position. You know, one of the things about health benefits for TEs, and now it goes into CCAs. Let me preface it by saying, we presently at the health plan, okay, are working on a plan for CCAs. The Postal Service is putting together a plan for CCAs. But theirs is only gonna be for single people, it's gonna be a single policy. Ours, we're gonna lock in so that the family can be covered, so significant other spouses.
Now, we gotta pay a different rate than a regular carrier?
Well, that, again, that is complete, yeah, that's under, formulation. We're trying to they're working on it right now,
Yeah.
okay, as I said.
Do you see a point where we ever go on strike again?
Now, that's a tough question to answer. But first off, I think you could probably gauge how successful that might be
Right.
by this rally on the 24th. Not to say, I'm not implicating any way, shape, or form that we're going to be going on strike.
Right.
But I'm just saying, there's nothing on the line here. Well, excuse me, there's everything on the line here, nothing on the line of losing your job by doing it. You know, one other thing. I guess it reflects kind of, because I go on and on, but Vince Sombrado, I love Vince. He was at a state convention down in West Virginia, and the state president was sitting next to him, and people were up asking questions, and Vince, they were up asking questions, and Vince can get really into it when he answers a question. So somebody got up, he said, "Can I ask one more question?" And so Vince looked at the state president, Joe Payton, and he says, "Joe, do we have enough time for more questions?" And he says, "We have time for more questions, Vince, but we only have time for one more answer." So I'm going to step up.